Hello, everyone. Hi, Juan. How are
Hey,
you?
Isagi. Hi, Isagi. Hi, everyone. Hope
Are you ready
you
for
guys are.
today?
Yes, we're ready. I hope you guys are ready as well.
Excellent, excellent. So, welcome, everyone. Um, let's begin. Today, we're going to talk about vIntelligence and the new launch and what it means for organizations who are looking to do more than just managing vulnerabilities or more than just managing their exposure. So without further ado, let me start. We'll start with about 10 minutes of kind of scoping the idea of what is vIntelligence and how it integrates with VRX and other products. Then we'll jump to Juan, who will do a demo, and then we'll do a quick Q&A. And of course, the more questions you have, the more fun we'll have. So keep those questions coming. Let's begin. All right. Juan, just give me a cue that you can see my screen and my
Y-
presentation.
Sure, we can see it now.
Excellent. All right, so let's just move one back. All right. So essentially, we're going to start today talking about vIntelligence and how it kind of fits into the whole true remediation approach that Vicarious has been doing in the past since its inception for the few years now. And let's go on with it. So, as you all know, and you've probably seen this graph a few thousand times, the amount of vulnerabilities detected and indexed and the time it takes to exploit them, we're truly on the verge of something great happening. Great from the defender's point of view and great from the attacker's point of view because their attacks are becoming easier for them. So, let me start by asking you something. 87% of breaches that happened last year, the patch actually existed already. It was available. The vulnerabilities were already known. The team just never got there in time. So we need to ask ourselves an honest questions. In our industry, does it actually solve this problem or are we just getting better at documenting them? Look at the 102 days. That's the average time it takes to remediate a vulnerability. 15 minutes, by the way, that's how long attackers need to weaponize disclosed vulnerabilities. And as you can see, last year was 40,000 CVEs were published. And about 60% of those breaches involve vulnerabilities that already had a patch, as I stated before. So the math doesn't really work anymore. Something fundamentally is broken and needs to be changing. Now, here's what I think is actually happening. Most vendors, what they call vulnerability management vendors, scanners, and so on, they don't actually remediate, they delegate. They create a ticket, they hand it off to IT, they mark it as resolved, but creating a JIRA ticket is not really fixing a vulnerability, right? It's handing it off or handing off the responsibility. So the industry, in most cases, calls it done, right? When a ticket is created, we call it done, and the vulnerability is actually not gone. So this is what actually happens. Attackers are now using AI to generate and working with exploits within hours. The average time from 0 day to working exploit is around 24 hours. Your scanner runs weekly, daily, monthly. You do the math by yourself. You see what the gap is that you're blind in. The idea here is that 80% of those exploits were already published. All right. That means that you have about a 23-day window. That means that the vulnerability is out there. It's not published yet, but hackers are already starting to work on them in order to make sure that they have the exploit. So I want to ask you, and if you want, answer in the comments, how many of you have a security team that spends more than half their day on alerts that turn out to be nothing? Okay, false positives or just kind of noise. Let's see if you have something in the chat, and if you do, I'll be happy to see that. All right. So, and moving on, 95% of alerts are false positives, I mentioned before. So, what's happening? There's a lot of tools out there, right? So the average enterprise runs 10 or more security tools. Each one speaks a different language, built a different data set, different data model. None of them have a single accurate view of what's actually is at risk. And not one of them, not your VM scanner, not your bus tool, not your pen tester, closes the loop from detection to validated fix. They all stop pretty much at alerting. This is where we come into play. Our belief is that we have to help security teams reduce their attack surface through preemptive exposure management, because finding vulnerabilities is cute until someone exploits them. Now, that's the issue here. And this is where we come in and kind of combine forces. Everybody knows our VRX solution that is kind of from inception is the remediation go-to solution, whether it's getting the information from Tenable, Qualys, Rapid7, other vendors, and so on, and then having VRX fix it. With the introduction of vIntelligence 2 weeks ago, what we've been able to do is actually collect a lot of information, and then pretty much what we call the intelligence arm, collect the information from a myriad amount of vendors, not only what you see here, but from Wiz and Palo Alto and so many vendors, normalize that information, and then enrich it, and then prioritize it. And then what we do is we send that information, the top, whatever you decide, the top 5%, the top 2%, the most important things you need to fix, VRX comes in, fixes them. But that's not it. That's not all. vIntelligence, once it gets notified that the issue is fixed, does a revalidation of the issue. And now if the issue cannot be exploited anymore, then the remediation has actually occurred. And that's when the ticket is actually, quote unquote, is closed. So the idea is that we have to ask ourselves, what if the problem isn't in our tools, right? It's not that the tools are bad. It's that nobody has ever connected them into a closed loop. That's exactly what vIntelligence does. From the intelligence arm to the actionable arm, together, they become that closed loop. So introducing vIntelligence, you can have CrowdStrike, and you can have Tenable, and you can have Qualys. Each one gives you a different severity score for the same vulnerability. vIntelligence ingests all of them, normalizes millions of data points into a single unified risk view, and enriches it with EPSS and CISA-KEV and MITRE, real-time, sub-second updates, one number, the right number. And of course, don't forget your personal environment context. Is the asset exposed to the internet? Is this an application that is not being used, so maybe the risk is lower, and so on and so on. So essentially, when these two work together, this is where it gets different. When vIntelligence surfaces a vulnerability, it doesn't just flag it, it sends it to an AI agent to test whether that vulnerability is actually exploitable in your environment, your specific environment. It's not a pre-built scenario, an AI-generated exploit script that runs safely with zero production downtime. If it can't be exploited, it's gone from your queue. 95% noise reduction, your team only sees what actually matters. Now, I know that a lot of vendors talking about 95% noise, the 5% that really matters. What's important to understand here is that whatever other vendors can do, that's the 5% that you're left with. But within that 5%, we're reducing it by 95% furthermore, so that you're actually left with a little bit of real important critical items that you need to take care of. So how does it look from a process point of view? We ingest the information, we normalize it, we enrich it, we validate, as I stated before, we then prioritize it. Then we send the information to VRX. Now, when I say send, these actually can work in the same platform. You can purchase them separately, but they can work in the as a one platform. So it sends that notification, quote unquote, to VRX. VRX remediates the problem. All right. Now it can do it in 3 or 4 different ways. It can patch, but what happens if there's no patch? So it can do a virtual patching. It can run a script. It can change configuration. Everything just to make sure that you're reducing the risk. If it's not 100%, then 80%. And then once it's complete, the system revalidates and makes sure that now what you could have done before, you could exploit before, now you cannot. And then it goes into what we call monitor mode. It scans it and makes sure that everything is okay. And once a real patch comes along, if there wasn't a real patch, and then it patches it again. So we talked about the levels of remediation, as I said, native patching, over 10,000 applications, scripting, patchless protection. That's like in runtime memory, so that when there's no patch available, we can still go into the application, protect it, put a kind of a proverbial shield around it in order to make sure that nothing can happen to it. And then, of course, you have configuration changes. All of these can be done by scripting, by actual manual patching, automated patching, API, and so on. And just before we move into Juan's great demo, a little bit of bragging, and I think that's important for us. Aside from being listed in the EAP, the first EAP Magic Quadrant for Gartner, and of course IDC, the EMP MarketScape 2025, Channel Pro, MSPs. We're very big with MSPs and medium and small and medium enterprises, and we Intelligence now. We're even going for the enterprise market, and we have seen successes there. So other than that, we have over 1,000 customers from different sectors. We actually have more than 100 different industries in our portfolio. You can see these are just some of the names for that. So without further ado, Juan, unless there are questions somewhere, let's see if I can see them. 1 second. Let's see. I don't know if I'm still sharing or not. No, I'm not sharing anymore. Any questions? Nothing. Okay, Juan.
Okay, cool.
Your demo is yours.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for your time. Let me just share the screen here. All right. So, Sagi, are you able to see the
Yes,
screen
I'm
now?
able to see.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. So this is the main view of the vIntelligence platform. This will be the executive view, in which we have an overview of the whole organization in terms of the amount of vulnerabilities, different vulnerabilities that were detected. But also we have a prioritization view, which consists on which of these vulnerabilities have actually reports on exploitations, and which ones are based on the CISA's KV, which ones are overdue, or which one required an immediate remediation based on the recommendations of CISA. So essentially, the platform is able to pull information not only from VRX, but from different data points, where that being other vendors or scanning vendors, but also, and most importantly, threat intelligence feeds that allow us to enrich the vulnerability and patch information data, and provide the administrators with a consolidated and prioritized view that allow us to be more effective in terms of remediation efforts. In these charts, we can see the distribution of vulnerabilities based on severity, the mitigation performance, which is a metric, is a KPI that allow us to track the progress that the administrators achieved operating the platform. And we have some automatic insights based on not only the information about vulnerabilities, active vulnerabilities, but also patches and live threat intelligence data that allow us to prioritize the remediation efforts in terms of which vulnerabilities are actually posing the most risk for the organization. And we also added some charts that track how many vulnerabilities were detected, how many of them were mitigated, and the amount of patches, and we can also add the amount of scripts or remediation efforts that were executed during a period of time. Then we can check the details in terms of the vulnerabilities, the vulnerability discovery. We have some charts that allow us to track the progress. We can view this information in terms of the top affected products, which CVEs have exploits available, which ones are listed on KV. But most importantly, we are able to correlate and map the CVEs that are affecting assets in our organization with the specific threat actors that have exploitation reports in the wild. And we can also map the CVEs that are active with the different phases on the meter attack framework. So we are able to prioritize the remediation based on recommendations and the specific um, phase of the attack framework, whether that being initial access, privilege escalation, and also we can view it by critical or high or any severity definition. And
Juan,
we can,
one,
sure.
Juan, one,
Mhm,
one point. If you can go back down to the threat
mhm,
actor. Now, this is important
mhm,
to understand, guys. Let's say you're a bank and you're not
mhm,
afraid from whatever, but you're afraid from a company or a APT 20. Okay, you can monitor specifically for that, and then that will become your critical, let's say, catalyst. That if you see that some of the CVEs you have are with APT Q20, which is known to attack financial institutions, for example, then this becomes your kind of your red dot on the screen, and you need to take care of that first. And of course, everything here is malleable, it's configurable, granular, so you can set it up the way you want to get the alerts you want, the way you want them, whatever is important for you guys. Just to add to that, there was a question earlier about is this a different or a separate module? The answer is yes. If you have VRX, you can buy vIntelligence. So yes, exactly. Yes, Keith. So you can buy as an additional module the vIntelligence, and then both of them, of course, work together and so on. Or you can buy vIntelligence by itself as well, and then you only get the intelligence arm, and so on. Sorry, Juan, go ahead.
okay, cool. Thank you. Indeed. So the business intelligence layer allow us to have insights, executive insights, and prioritize based on what's really important, what's really posing major risk on the organization. But even with our, from our experience with customers, with our tool and with other tools, uh, it's not about the amount of data or the availability of data to make decisions, but making more confident and more informed decisions about which remediation option to take. But it's all about how to make sense of different data points, of different data sources. And usually for an analyst, for an administrator, it's really challenging to analyze CVEs, business context, which assets are affected, the threat intelligence feeds, uh, even issues, operational issues that can affect a patch or a script. So our goal with vIntelligence is not only to provide an executive view of the situation, the risk situation of an organization, but we also added on top of that an agentic AI application layer that allow us to uh, connect to this shared database or shared data lake for this particular organization and make sense of all the data and allow the administrators to take uh, faster decisions, not talking about actions, decisions, whether to apply or not a remediation action, either a patch or a script, with confidence based on the data that is available in the, in this case, in the database. So, for example, I can ask the assistant to show me active vulnerabilities that are exploited by these threat actors. So the agentic AI application is used in this case to consolidate, to consume different data points available in the platform and provide like a summary or a recommendation based on the user request and the user intent. We also added some layers of web research that allow us, for example, to research about the operational risks that a patch may pose to the organization based on the on known issues that were reported on different forums or different sources even sources from the vendor. So let's go back to the let's see the vulnerabilities. One sec, we'll just refresh it and let's ask again over here. Uh, let's see, show me active
While Juan is doing
vulnerabilities.
this, it's important to
Mhm,
understand that this is natural language search, AI, of course,
mhm,
NLP, natural language.
mhm, mhm,
So this is something like wow, right? I mean, we show this
mhm,
to customers, and if they simply ask what, like one of the customers that I've seen doing that actually ask,
mhm,
okay, what are the 5 things I need to do now? Like when they go
mhm.
in 8 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning, what are the 5 items I need to take care of today, right now, urgent? And then
Mhm.
the system will tell them. Sorry, Juan, go ahead.
Exactly. And we've also added some capabilities to recommend. Uh, Let me see if I can share the screen here. Uh, Here. We also add some capabilities. This is it's the same platform essentially to run this collection and this analysis, and the analysis based on the agent, and recommend specific patches based on the relevant information, patches or scripts available in the platform in order to remediate or mitigate the vulnerabilities based on the information available in the platform. So after we finish the analysis from our previous query, we can see that we have 3 assets affected by these vulnerabilities that are being exploited by the specific threat actors. And we have information about the CVEs that are being targeted, which ones are known exploited, and we can even it's even suggesting us to apply this specific patch that is available on the platform, so we can also run actions based on this information. We can even we can try and let's see, research known issues with this patch. So once we ensure that this patch doesn't pose any issues to our existing infrastructure, or we can even deploy on a test asset group to validate, we are also able to configure remediation plans and to program them beforehand and let them run through VRX native remediation capabilities. So in this case, the agent will start researching different forums, different uh, let's see, information about the that is able to pull. We have a pre-configured list of sources, like trustable sources, Windows forums, and even some vendor sites. So this specific patch seems to have some issues, but they are not related to our current platform. And it actually has a very old version of .NET in purpose, just to showcase how it works. So let's take this recommendation and let's deploy the patch on this asset. So this will switch the current session into a session in which the agent will prepare the patch and the asset group payload in order to trigger this action, BRX, completing the full remediation cycle. And it can also validate automatically if the patch was successfully updated. It can run scripts to validate if the installed version is actually the one that fixes the vulnerabilities that we were analyzing before. Any action that will require running scripts or running patches on the platform, it's gated through a human in the loop cycle in which the administrator can approve the action, whether that it's a patch or a script, it will record the details on which patch or which script is going to be executed and why, and what is the reason and the explanation of this action. So I will approve the action. We can add more assets or groups, and once we approve the action, it will trigger the remediation automatically into VRX platform.
Juan, one more
Mhm,
point while it does
mhm,
this. The human in the loop is done in order for our customers to build trust in the system. At some point, I've seen customers on the benign type of changes. For example, let's say they scan and they
mhm,
see that the password policy needs to be 180 days and it's only 90, for example.
mhm.
So once they've done it once with the human in the loop or twice or even 10 times, now it becomes kind of mundane. So for this specific type of change or other changes that they feel that they have comfort doing it completely automatically, done. So I mean, they choose do this automatically, and every time the system sees in compliance with 180 days of a password policy, it changes it automatically. Now the great thing here is that when they log in the next morning, the system at some point will tell them, "I've done all this for you in the past 24 hours." Exactly, exactly. Thank you for showing that. uh, and that's, I mean, you have a real vulnerability manager working for you. That's the idea. And it's not a vulnerability manager anymore. It's an exposure manager. It's a remediation manager. It's a whole set of tools and agents that work for you and expand your ability to become even better at your job. And forgive me for saying, sleeping better at night because you know someone is holding the wheel. Go ahead, Juan.
Exactly. And we can extend any recommendations based on any use cases that we have available into VRX. Uh, in order to automate this analysis, I mean, the full analysis cycle from uh, analyzing a CVE or a patch, triggering an automatic research on the web, correlating it with our threat intelligence feeds. We are able to run these automatic recommendations like in a daily or in any interval that the administrators and organizations request. And for each CVE, we can query and we can collect and curate actually uh, information from the official sources and official recommendations. And this becomes kind of a remediation center in which, for each vulnerability, uh, the agent will recommend the most appropriate mitigation or workaround or remediation, if available, for each CVE and prioritized by the actual risk and the exploitation reports that we are able to collect from different data points. For example, I can see that this patch is actually important. This is probably, well, look, we can request the assistant to analyze. Let's create a new session. And it's based actually on different reports from
Juan, we're seeing
hmm?
the SUSE screen. Is that the screen that
Okay.
you see?
No, yes, it's
Okay,
actually
there you
this
go.
one.
Okay,
I was showing the,
okay.
thank you. I was showing the Susi screen because it's actually related to one of the CVs. But for any patch, we can analyze why is this patch important. Well, in this case, it's a cumulative patch. Which assets have available? Which assets have issues when executing patches? So it's not only helpful. Maybe assistant is not only helpful in terms of the remediation, but also for the operations teams and the infrastructure teams in order to review past actions and take any remediation or any uh, action to fix any issues with execution of the different remediation options. So and as before, we can ask to research operational issues with this patch. Research on the web. Um, so once this, well, this query completes, let me show you some other reporting features we have. We're able to track each remediation action, the success of this action, the type of actions. We can deep dive on the details and the different results. We can run any type of scripts we have in our library. We can run audit scripts for specific frameworks. And that's what we built here in the compliance tab. We are now running CIS and NIST 80171 compliance scripts. We query the results of these scripts of each specific control, and we are also create these dashboards and executive dashboards and charts to track what is the compliance status of the different assets we have, and even check which frameworks are actually the ones that pose the most failures in the control check.
One important
Yes.
thing that
Mhm,
is here, it's also
mhm,
custom compliance. For example, RDP hardening. So
mhm.
maybe talk a bit about that because that's a very nice differentiator.
Okay, cool.
Customers can create their own compliance framework.
That's right. And that's a really good point, Sagi, because this is an example. Our RDP hardening, creating a script that will check which assets have RDP enabled, which assets have it disabled, which shouldn't have RDP enabled, but this can be extensible. We have customers that use the platform to validate the stack of security tools, security applications they have on their assets. So we can create scripts that will check the specific security product stack that any asset should have in an organization. And based on the output of these scripts, we can create these customized charts and dashboards. And not only that, if we detect assets that are out of compliance, we can trigger actions to install the missing security products like an EDR as your trust agent or any other kind of security product. And customers are actually using for that use case. And we can extend this custom compliance dashboard to any other use cases that is supported by the scripting engine. Okay, so let's go back to our remediation task, and I think should be executing now. Let's trigger a sync. One sec, and let's wait for it to sync, and let's check the task status again. I mean, we can leave it running automatically. It runs on specific intervals, but they will run. It will now query the task status and provide us with an updated review of the last task we executed. So it succeeded. That was fast, and it will provide us with more insights. So it says was successfully staged, and it's on a pending reboot status, and we can obviously trigger that action as well. And it's now recommending us the post action to complete the installation of the patch and the remediation. Okay. Any questions? Oh, last but not the least, we added, and many of these dashboards and features we added are mostly based on our customers' recommendations and suggestions on how they can actually make the most out of the VRX platform. So the ROI calculator, we added this feature in order to present to executive levels what is the savings and what is the advantage of having VRX as the main remediation platform for each organization. So we calculate the amount of time and budget saved by VRX compared to manual efforts, and we can also extend to other platforms, comparing to other different platforms. And not only the amount of pending savings based on the pending patches available, but also the past action savings. And it's essentially a comparison of how much time it would take to apply those remediations in patches or scripts based on the time it takes to configure automations in VRX native capabilities. And we also added some calculations in terms of the remaining CDs that are required to remediate after applying all the vendor specific recommendations. So all of these reports are exportable. We can export them into PDF format. The ones that are actually in table format, those reports we can export it in a CSV, an Excel format. So it's ready, for different use cases, and particularly for showcasing and demonstrating how VRX enables organizations to remediate faster with more confidence and uh, obviously with saving budget and time in the meantime.
Juan, maybe you can
Mhm.
elaborate on the ROI. This is something the
Sure,
customers really like as well. How it's calculated? Why is it
sure,
important?
sure. The principle on how it's calculated is that we take all the pending patches that are available in the platform at any given time. We understand in which operating systems these patches are available. And for the different operating system families, for Linux, we take a specific calculation or algorithm. For Windows, we compare it on how an administrator would uh, connect remotely to a machine, download a patch, understand if the patch, validate if the patch was downloaded correctly, install the patch, validate if the patch was successfully installed, and even in some cases reboot the device. We do it in a similar fashion for Linux as well, but we understand that in Linux we have package manager, which automates most of this process. And based on that, we assign a specific amount of hours for each operating system family and for the different groups of assets that are available in the platform. And then we configure hourly rates, how much it will cost for an administrator, for an organization to uh, execute these actions. And we calculate for each operating system family and for each application an estimate amount of time on how much it will take to apply these patches manually, and then we compare it with VRX. VRX is actually different because we have the ability to create automations, and we can select different target groups. We can pack different applications, different operating systems, and we can run automations on schedule, periodic executions, periodic cycles, and that is actually the feature that allows us to execute the remediations much faster than manually or with other tools. So we essentially, in summary, for each operating system family and patches that are available, we calculate the amount of time it will take to execute those patches manually, and we compare it on a model we created on that reflects the time it takes for an administrator to execute the same actions, but with the VRX automation. Any questions?
All right. Anything else you want to cover, Juan, before we move to Q&A, if there are any?
That's essentially the main use cases of the platform, and we can obviously extend and leverage on the agent capabilities to gain
Let's talk
insights
about
from
the
different data points.
integrations. Talk to me about the integrations. We know Qualys and we know Tenable, you know, the different scanners, but talk to me about integration, for example, with Wiz. Maybe talk
Yes,
about that.
we develop connectors for each vendors, and we have like a normalized database in which we ingest information from Wiz as well. We have connectors ready
Why do we
available.
want to integrate with Wiz? Explain what does Wiz bring to the table for a customer? Why do they need the vIntelligence working with Wiz, for example?
Well, it does give us the visibility into the cloud assets and risks, and it allows us to eventually trigger actions and reason with our agent capabilities in vIntelligence. So the idea is to collect information from different vendors, different visibility levels, and reason from these data points and recommend actions and remediation actions to take from the intelligence, right? Leveraging on the visibility we have from other vendors.
So essentially, what you're saying is that we're saying to the organizations who want to buy vIntelligence, it doesn't matter what type of security stack you have, we can integrate, and then we take all this information into a big funnel, we normalize this information, and then at the end of the day, we give you, this is what you need to do. This is the most important thing, based on all this accumulated information from Tenable, from Qualys, from Rapid7, from Wiz, from, I don't know, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, whatever vendor you're using, and then we can give you that guidance on what to do, and even actually tell you, okay, if you tell it to patch this or tell it to change this configuration, it will solve or mitigate the problem.
Exactly. That's right.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So
All right.
we are, if there aren't any more questions, then I guess we'll tell you, thank you very much for joining, from myself and from Juan, and of course from the Vicarious family. Make sure to follow Vicarious on LinkedIn so that you can be aware of more sessions like this. And have a great rest of your day, and thank you for your time again.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.